stress. It's the invisible weight we carry on our shoulders, the late-night racing thoughts, the tension in our jaw, the feeling that time is running out. For years, people have brushed it off with phrases like, "I'm just stressed," or "It's nothing serious." But here's the chilling truth. Chronic stress isn't just in your head. It leaves fingerprints on your body, rewires your brain, weakens your immune system, and yes, science suggests it can literally shorten your life. At the center of it all is one powerful hormone, cortisol. Cortisol is often called the stress hormone, but that nickname barely scratches the surface. Produced by your adrenal glands, cortisol is your body's alarm system. When danger strikes, whether it's a tiger chasing you in the wild or an angry email from your boss, cortisol floods your system. It raises your heart rate, spikes your blood pressure, and sends glucose rushing into your bloodstream. In short, it gives you the energy and alertness to survive. Without cortisol, humans wouldn't have made it past the Stone Age. But here's where the story takes a dark turn. That same life-saving hormone, when triggered too often, becomes a silent killer. Because your body was designed for short bursts of stress, not the chronic, never-ending stress of modern life. Cavemen had predators and famines. We have mortgages, deadlines, traffic jams, social media comparisons, and sleepless nights. And our cortisol doesn't know the difference. It still reacts as if every missed deadline is a life-or-death encounter. So what happens when cortisol stays elevated for too long? The effects are staggering. Long-term high cortisol levels have been linked to high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes, depression, memory problems, and a weakened immune system. Scientists even found that chronic stress accelerates cellular aging by shortening telomeres, the protective caps on your DNA. Think of telomeres like the plastic tips on shoelaces. When they fray, the shoelaces unravel. When telomeres fray, your cells age and die faster. In other words, stress is literally eating away at your biological clock. One of the most striking studies on this came from Nobel laureate Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn, who studied mothers caring for chronically ill children, one of the most stressful roles imaginable. She found their telomeres were significantly shorter than those of women their age who weren't under the same constant pressure. Translation: their bodies were aging faster because of stress. Some scientists estimate that severe, unrelenting stress can shave years off your lifespan. And it doesn't stop at aging. Elevated cortisol suppresses your immune system, making you more vulnerable to infections. That's why people under high stress often catch colds more easily or take longer to heal. It also hijacks your brain. Too much cortisol shrinks the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for learning and memory. That's why chronic stress is linked not only to brain fog, but also to a higher risk of dementia later in life. But perhaps the most dangerous part is how stress fuels itself. High cortisol disrupts sleep, and poor sleep raises cortisol even further. It increases cravings for sugar and fatty foods, leading to weight gain, especially belly fat. That extra weight, in turn, stresses the body, driving cortisol higher still. It's a vicious cycle, one that silently chips away at health year after year. And yet, cortisol isn't the villain it's made out to be. It's not good or bad. Like any hormone, it's about balance. Cortisol follows a natural rhythm known as the circadian rhythm. It peaks in the morning to wake you up and energize you, then gradually declines throughout the day, hitting its lowest point at night so you can sleep. The problem arises when stress throws this rhythm off, keeping cortisol elevated at night when it should be low. That's when you find yourself lying awake at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling, mind racing. So the big question, can stress really shorten your life? The answer, backed by decades of research, is yes, if it's chronic, unmanaged, and relentless. But here's the hopeful twist. Just as chronic stress accelerates aging, reducing stress and regulating cortisol can literally slow it down. Your telomeres can be protected, your heart can recover, your brain can heal. And the key isn't in erasing stress completely. That's impossible. The key is learning how to manage it so cortisol works for you, not against you. How do we do that? The science points to several powerful strategies. The first is movement. Not extreme, punishing workouts, but moderate, consistent exercise like walking, swimming, or yoga. Physical activity helps burn off excess cortisol and resets your hormonal balance. Remember, our ancestors walked miles every day. Movement is the natural release valve for stress. Next is sleep. Your body needs those 7 to 9 hours to reset cortisol rhythms. Poor sleep is one of the fastest ways to skyrocket stress hormones. And if you've ever pulled an all-nighter, you know the next day feels like a foggy, anxious blur. That's cortisol wreaking havoc. Then there's mindfulness and breathing. Countless studies show that meditation, deep breathing, and even simple daily moments of calm lower cortisol dramatically. In fact, people who practice mindfulness regularly show longer telomeres compared to those who don't. It's as if the act of calming your mind literally slows cellular aging. And don't underestimate the power of connection. Humans are wired for social bonds. Talking with loved ones, sharing your struggles, and laughing with friends all reduce cortisol. In contrast, loneliness is one of the strongest predictors of elevated stress hormones and premature death. Even nutrition plays a role. Diets high in processed sugar and caffeine spike cortisol. Whole foods, leafy greens, omega-3 fatty acids, and plenty of water help regulate it. It's not about a miracle diet. It's about giving your body the tools to handle stress instead of fueling the fire. So, what's the takeaway? Stress in short bursts is necessary. It's what keeps us alive in emergencies, sharp in danger, and ready to act when it counts. But in today's world, where our stress response is triggered not by lions but by bills, deadlines, and never-ending notifications, cortisol has turned from guardian into saboteur, and unless we learn to master it, it will master us. The good news? You're not powerless. By understanding the science of cortisol and applying small daily practices, walking, sleeping better, connecting, breathing, you can protect your body, preserve your mind, and maybe even add years to your life. So can stress shorten your life? The science says yes. But the real story is this: you hold the power to decide how much. Every breath, every step, every moment of calm is a choice to take back control from cortisol. And those choices don't just shape your health, they shape your future. Because in the end, the secret to a longer life may not be found in a pill or a lab. It may simply lie in how well we learn to handle the stress of being human.